You step onto the treadmill, and immediately someone beside you starts moving faster, harder, louder, more determined than you feel right now. Your brain whispers something dangerous, something that feels true but quietly sabotages the exact goal you were chasing today. It says faster means better, sweat means progress, breathlessness means your body is finally working hard enough to matter. So you speed up instinctively, heart pounding, chest tightening, telling yourself this discomfort is proof that fat is disappearing. But somewhere inside your body, a completely different story is unfolding, one your muscles cannot feel or sense. Your fat-burning system, the quiet machinery running underneath your effort, just made a decision without asking your permission first. It switched fuels entirely, abandoning fat and reaching instead for quick-burning carbohydrates the moment your pace crossed a hidden line. Most people assume slow walking is too gentle, too soft, too easy to touch stubborn belly fat at all. But exercise physiologists studying metabolism see something the mirror and the scale could never possibly reveal to you. They see a threshold, a specific point where your body stops prioritizing fat and starts burning something else entirely. Stay with me, because what happens next inside your body is rarely explained clearly, honestly, or completely to anyone. Sometimes slowing down dramatically increases fat burning, and understanding why changes everything about how you should be exercising forever. Yes, your muscles contract, demand energy, and physically move you forward with every single step you take outside. But behind your muscles sits something more powerful, a fuel selection system involving mitochondria, hormones, and your nervous system. Mitochondria are tiny energy factories living inside your cells, quietly deciding whether fat or sugar becomes your fuel source. Insulin and stress hormones influence that decision constantly, shifting based on how hard and how fast you are moving. Your nervous system determines whether your body feels calm and efficient or urgent, stressed, and desperate for quick energy. Think of your metabolism as a fuel selection system constantly evaluating oxygen availability, intensity, and immediate physical demand together. Here are real numbers, not meant to frighten you, only meant to finally make this invisible process visible and clear. At lower intensities, up to 70% of your total energy can come directly from burning stored body fat. But research consistently shows fat oxidation peaks at moderate intensity, then quietly declines the harder and faster you push. When your pace becomes too aggressive, your body abandons fat entirely and reaches for carbohydrates because they metabolize faster. That single shift changes absolutely everything about your results, especially if stubborn, visceral belly fat is truly your target. The real question was never how hard you're working, it's which fuel your body chooses while you're working. And shockingly, that better choice often happens when you deliberately choose to slow your entire pace down significantly. The moment you begin walking, whether slow or fast, your nervous system reacts almost instantly, within seconds, always. Your brain signals your heart to increase output immediately, blood flow rises, and something remarkable happens inside your vessels. The inner lining senses that rising flow and releases nitric oxide, helping blood vessels relax, widen, and breathe easier. This happens at every pace, but the amount of stress placed on your system differs dramatically depending on speed. During slow walking, your heart rate climbs gradually, while your calming nervous system branch never fully shuts off completely. Your body stays balanced, oxygen delivery increases smoothly, and muscles draw fuel calmly without urgency or internal panic anywhere.
During fast walking, especially near breathlessness, your heart rate climbs sharply while stress hormones rise proportionally alongside intensity levels. Your entire system shifts from calm, steady mobilization into aggressive performance mode, chasing speed instead of sustainable fat burning. This difference feels small at first, almost unnoticeable, but it quietly shapes everything that happens in the next few minutes. By minute 3 to 5, breathing patterns reveal this hidden divergence clearly, honestly, and undeniably between the two paces. During slow walking, you can still hold a full conversation while oxygen comfortably meets your body's rising energy demand. Your muscles increase fat oxidation because sufficient oxygen allows mitochondria to efficiently process and burn stored fatty acids continuously. Fat burns slower than sugar, but at this relaxed pace, your body feels absolutely no rush or pressure whatsoever. During fast walking, breathing becomes labored and deep as your body senses a growing demand for rapid, immediate energy. Carbohydrate use begins climbing steadily because glucose converts into usable energy far faster than slower-burning stored body fat instead. Between minutes 3 and 10, circulation keeps improving in both cases, but fuel selection begins diverging more noticeably now. Slow walking sustains an environment where fat remains the dominant fuel source powering your body through the entire session. Fast walking gradually shifts toward mixed fuel, then glucose becomes dominant as your intensity continues climbing higher and higher. By the 10-minute mark, you officially enter what researchers privately call the true fat-burning training window inside your body. At a slower, steady pace, fat oxidation stabilizes and remains elevated while your stress hormones stay calm and controlled. Your mitochondria work steadily, oxygen stays sufficient, and your body perceives consistent demand instead of dangerous, threatening internal stress. At faster paces, especially near breathlessness, your system prioritizes immediate performance over long-term sustainable fat oxidation and burning. Carbohydrate metabolism accelerates, lactate begins rising, and your priority shifts from burning fat to rapid, urgent energy turnover. Your body isn't malfunctioning here, it's adapting intelligently, just toward a completely different goal than you originally intended. Cadence nuance matters more than almost anyone realizes, because going too slow leaves your body understimulated and ineffective. Going too fast pushes you straight out of the optimal fat oxidation zone you were actually trying to reach. The true sweet spot feels deceptively comfortable, brisk but sustainable, nothing close to the exhausting effort you assumed necessary. Ironically, the pace that feels most productive is rarely the pace that actually maximizes stubborn belly fat oxidation. To understand why this happens, you need to understand what your body values most during any physical movement whatsoever. Efficiency and survival guide every single decision, and walking forces your body to choose the fuel matching current demand. That decision is purely biochemical, never emotional, based entirely on oxygen availability and how urgently energy is needed. At lower intensities, oxygen comfortably meets your energy needs, and burning fat requires oxygen because it's an oxygen-dependent process. When oxygen supply stays steady and sufficient, your cells confidently choose fat as their primary, reliable fuel source. It burns slower, yes, but produces far more usable energy over time compared to quickly burned, short-lived carbohydrates instead. In this calm state, your mitochondria operate like steady furnaces, slowly and efficiently feeding on stored fatty acids continuously. As intensity increases, oxygen demand rises sharply, and even brisk walking can narrow the gap between supply and demand.
When that gap narrows, your body prioritizes fuels it can metabolize rapidly, favoring stored sugar over slower-burning fat. Carbohydrates require less oxygen per unit of energy, making them the faster, more convenient choice during intense effort. This explains the entire shift. Fast walking doesn't stop burning fat completely. It simply changes the overall proportion used. The faster you push, the more your body leans toward carbohydrates, and fat oxidation decreases proportionally in response. Belly fat reduction depends entirely on repeated periods where your body consistently prioritizes fat as its primary fuel source. Staying within a moderate, sustainable intensity means spending more accumulated time inside that valuable, fat-dominant metabolic zone daily. Over weeks and months, that accumulated time matters significantly more than occasional short bursts of unsustainable high intensity. There's also a hormonal layer here. Higher intensities elevate adrenaline, and prolonged stress eventually raises cortisol levels too. Chronically elevated cortisol has been linked to impaired insulin sensitivity and stubborn abdominal fat retention over extended time. Slow walking maintains a lower stress profile, allowing your body to release fat without triggering excessive hormonal spikes. Your mitochondria adapt directly to the signals they consistently receive from your chosen training intensity over time. Training consistently at moderate intensity makes mitochondria more efficient at oxidizing fat, improving enzymes and capillary density together. This isn't about avoiding effort entirely. It's about matching your effort intelligently to your actual specific fat loss goal. If maximal cardiovascular performance is your goal, higher intensities absolutely have their rightful place in your training routine. But for sustainable belly fat reduction specifically, time spent inside the optimal fat oxidation zone matters far more. Your body doesn't reward speed alone, it rewards appropriate stimulus, even when that means slower than your ego prefers. Now here's the moment most people completely miss, and it has nothing to do with your actual walking speed. It has everything to do with timing, specifically what happens biologically inside your body immediately after every single meal. Blood glucose rises after eating. Insulin increases to move that glucose into cells throughout your entire body quickly. If you immediately sit down afterward, your inactive muscles demand little energy, so insulin keeps signaling storage instead. Fat cells around your abdomen receive that storage message clearly, and stubborn belly fat quietly begins accumulating further. Now imagine taking a slow, steady walk within 30 minutes after eating. Nothing intense, just calm, rhythmic movement. Muscle contractions begin pulling glucose into cells independently, without requiring dramatic insulin spikes to handle rising blood sugar. Blood sugar peaks lower, returns to baseline faster, and insulin exposure shortens significantly compared to remaining completely sedentary. Since insulin is one of the strongest storage hormones in your body, reducing its elevation changes everything metabolically. Walking too fast immediately after eating can sharply elevate stress hormones while your digestion is still actively underway. For people managing insulin resistance or elevated stress, this creates unnecessary strain your body simply doesn't need right now. Slow walking maintains metabolic calm while still effectively enhancing glucose clearance without triggering unnecessary internal stress responses. Morning offers another powerful window, since cortisol naturally peaks during early hours before gradually declining throughout your day. A slow walk in morning light helps regulate your circadian rhythm and stabilizes that natural cortisol curve effectively.
Stable cortisol levels support better fat metabolism throughout your entire day, improving results far beyond the walk itself. Intense morning movement may spike stress hormones dramatically, which isn't always ideal for abdominal fat regulation specifically. Evening walking offers yet another subtle advantage, lowering sympathetic activation while improving your calming parasympathetic nervous system tone. Better sleep quality directly supports insulin sensitivity and healthy appetite regulation, both critical for long-term fat loss success. Slow walking aligns beautifully with recovery, while fast walking late at night may stimulate rather than calm your system. The key throughout all of this remains metabolic calm, combined consistently with steady, reliable fuel demand from your muscles. The steps themselves stay simple. The intensity remains sustainable, but the biological leverage comes from strategic, intentional timing. Sometimes the most powerful metabolic shift doesn't come from pushing harder, it comes from pacing yourself far smarter. Over the following weeks, this pacing strategy begins showing measurable results extending far beyond how tired you feel afterward. Clinicians don't just track calories burned, they track internal markers revealing exactly how your body is truly adapting. One of the first measurable changes is resting heart rate, which often declines after 8 to 12 consistent weeks. That drop indicates improved cardiac efficiency and better autonomic balance, both signs your fat metabolism is genuinely improving. Blood pressure frequently stabilizes too,
as improved endothelial function enhances arterial flexibility through repeated nitric oxide release. Heart rate variability, a key measure of nervous system balance, often improves more with sustainable moderate activity consistently. Higher heart rate variability reflects stronger calming tone, which matters because chronic stress interferes with abdominal fat reduction. Waist circumference may begin decreasing even when your total body weight changes only modestly on the scale itself. Visceral fat, which is metabolically active and hormone responsive, declines as insulin sensitivity improves and chronic stress reduces significantly. Insulin sensitivity improves gradually over weeks as muscle cells become more efficient at using both fatty acids and glucose. Your body requires less insulin to manage meals, and lower chronic insulin exposure reduces signals encouraging belly fat storage. Aerobic efficiency improves too, so the same walking pace feels easier over time without meaning you're burning less fat. As mitochondrial density increases, your ability to oxidize fat at that exact pace actually improves significantly instead. Fast walking certainly improves cardiovascular fitness and overall calorie expenditure, and it absolutely still has genuine value too. But for people specifically targeting belly fat, especially those managing stress or insulin resistance, slower walking often wins. After several months, cumulative effects become undeniably clear. Energy stabilizes, cravings decrease, and sleep quality noticeably improves throughout. You didn't sprint, you didn't exhaust yourself, you simply stayed inside a zone your metabolism could genuinely sustain. Now let's examine what research has uncovered that directly challenges the popular, deeply ingrained, faster is always better mindset completely. Surprise number 1, fat oxidation doesn't increase in a straight line with intensity, it actually follows a curve. Multiple studies show fat oxidation rises from low intensity, peaks at moderate intensity, then quietly declines as intensity increases. This peak, often called fat max, typically occurs at an effort level that feels brisk but genuinely sustainable throughout. For many people, that sweet spot feels much closer to steady walking than to fast, breathless walking sessions.
Surprise number 2. People with insulin resistance often burn proportionally more fat specifically at lower exercise intensities instead. When intensity climbs too high, their bodies rapidly shift toward carbohydrate dependence, undermining their exact fat loss goals entirely. This means slower walking may be genuinely more metabolically appropriate for anyone specifically targeting stubborn abdominal fat reduction. Surprise number 3. Chronic high-intensity cardio without adequate recovery can steadily elevate cortisol levels over extended periods. Persistently elevated cortisol has been associated with abdominal fat retention in many individuals across multiple research studies. Slow, consistent walking produces a noticeably milder stress response, supporting long-term hormonal balance far more effectively overall. Surprise number 4. Longer duration at sustainable intensity often leads to greater cumulative fat oxidation than short, intense bursts. Even when total calories burned during intense sessions are higher, the actual proportion coming from fat may be lower. Over weeks and months, time spent specifically inside the fat oxidation zone accumulates meaningfully into real, visible results. Slow doesn't mean weak, it simply means strategic, intentional, and far more aligned with your actual biological goals. This isn't an argument against all faster training, since higher intensities genuinely benefit cardiovascular capacity and athletic performance. But if reducing belly fat is truly your primary goal, consistent time in that optimal zone matters most. If you have cardiovascular disease or uncontrolled hypertension, always consult your healthcare provider before changing your exercise routine. Your walking pace should always allow comfortable conversation, and chest pain or dizziness should never be casually ignored, ever. Progression should stay gradual because intensity is a tool for results, never a test of personal toughness whatsoever. At the beginning, we asked whether your fat-burning system looked calm or quietly strained under everyday walking pressure.
Now you understand exactly how pace influences that internal state, shaping your results far more than effort alone. Your body adapts precisely to what you repeatedly ask of it, session after session, week after week, consistently. If you repeatedly push into high-stress zones, your body adapts accordingly, favoring quick fuel over sustainable fat burning. If you repeatedly operate inside efficient oxygen-rich zones instead, you strengthen exactly the pathways your goals actually require. Because sometimes the smartest move on your entire fitness journey isn't going faster, it's simply staying steadier instead.